Hello, everyone. My name is Julianne Meyer. You are watching Own Your Wellness. And for those of you who have been following along, I am on day 19 of my juice cleanse. Yes, I'm almost into the twos. Woohoo! 28 days. That's how long I committed to 4 weeks. I can do it for 4 weeks. I had my first major mishap today where I didn't put the juice container where the juice was coming out. So I lost half my juice to the countertop, but that's okay. And the reason why it's okay is because I have an amazing guest today. I have been looking forward to this conversation for quite some time now. Her name is Karen Davis. She is many things, but a couple of titles she has are coach and author, and also mother, and a million of other things. But let's bring her on. Welcome, Karen. So glad to have you here today.
Thank you, Julianne. Thank you so much. I'm really looking forward to our conversation.
Me too. So I would love for you to share a bit about yourself and your own wellness journey.
I'd love to. So, since we're going to talk about uncovering your hidden potential today, I thought it would be really valuable for the viewers to hear my story of my journey and how I became a coach and the process by which I discovered my own inner potential. And so, if we go back to my career, I'd spent 18 years in software and technology and worked for an advertising agency and worked for a software company for several years. And then I felt that there was something else that I could be doing that was more. I loved all the relationships that I had in the workplace. I didn't mind my commute. I'd gone from an hour commute down to 20-minute commute. I was always part of an executive team. I was always part of acquisitions and mergers and growing the company. And yet I still felt like there was something that was missing. And I know that this life that we have, it's not a dress rehearsal. Like, this is it. And the biggest commodity that we have is our time. And I just felt it inside. And right around 2005, I was very close with my mother, and my mother had a very difficult mental illness. She was paranoid schizophrenic. And from the time that I was very young, and we lost my mother in 2005, May of 2005. And I was standing there graveside at her funeral, and I could hear, now this may sound to your audience like a little woo-woo, but I could hear her saying to me, Karen, when are you going to do something about this? And my kids were young at the time, and I think they were like maybe 8 and 11. And I knew what she was talking about. She was talking about my life. And she was talking about, the number of hours I was spending at work. And she was talking about, trying to be super mom and be it all, be everything to everyone. And I was feeling it inside my body. I had just been diagnosed with bradycardia, which is a slow heart rate. And I wasn't physically feeling good, nor was I really feeling that I was on my path. And so after that day, standing graveside at my mother's funeral, I knew, I made a promise to her secretly in my mind that give me a couple of years and I'll get this figured out. And then if we fast forward to September of that year, the company that I was with was going through due diligence, and we were about to be acquired by one of the largest advertising agencies in the world. And I knew that things were going to change. I could feel it. I thought, okay, maybe this is it. Maybe this is it. And then we fast forward to March of 2006, and I was in a bookstore, and this book about meditation was calling to me. And I thought, okay, maybe that's what I need to do, is get really quiet and really clear about what is next. And then fast forward to July of that same year, 2006, I had the opportunity presented itself. I was given a 7-year non-compete, and I knew I didn't want to be with the agency for 7 years. And it was pretty much an ultimatum. I had equity in the company. And so there it is, 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'm thinking, oh, we'll get this figured out. And then, the universe had different plans. And it was like, oh, okay, I was given this ultimatum. Okay, this is it. Then I'm out. And I remember thinking to myself, Julianne, who just said that? Did I say that? I don't have a plan. This is a free fall. And so from there, I sat here in my office for about a week trying to figure out what to do next. And the phone rang the following week. And I remember looking over the phone going, who could be calling me? Is it a telemarketer or is it someone in my life? And it was a consultant that we had worked with back in 2004. And she said, hey, I hear you're no longer with the agency. Would you be interested in coming and doing some work with me? And I absolutely, what do you need done? I'm your person. I'll figure it out. And then, so that then transitioned into consulting. And I still wasn't there yet with coaching. I thought that the consulting was going to lead to whatever was next, that big next thing. And I was still meditating. I had shut off the TV. I was, I kind of disconnected from the world. And I was feeling very pulled at that point, very much pulled along, like there's something there for you. Just keep going, be very intentional about it, and it will appear. And sure enough, that same year, I was doing some volunteer work for the Emergency Food and Family Assistance Association here in Boulder, Colorado. And this wonderful woman, Nancy Sanders, came up to me and she said, Karen, love the work that you did for the annual conference. Have you ever done coaching? And Julianne, in 2007, coaching wasn't a big, no one knew really too much. It isn't what it is today, for sure. And I said, you know what? I haven't. And I really think I might enjoy that. And she said, great, I'm going to introduce you to the CEO. And if you would go and have a conversation with them. And I went, I did that, and they hired me to come in and coach all their high potentials in the organization. And I worked with that group for 4 years. And very shortly thereafter, I started working with another organization. And then in 2008, the following year, I founded a company called Engage and started doing employee engagement workshops. So I had that company, I had my coaching company. And then in 2012, I knew my passion, my love was coaching. And the other part of this is I hired my very first coach in 2007 to help me with this journey. And so I thought I have to be very intentional. I need to figure out what is the next step in my journey. If I don't design my life, no one else is going to design it. So.
No, I think that's amazing. And you bring up a really good point. If you don't design your life, you're going to, by default, end up doing somebody else's bidding.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. That's amazing. One of the things that I've discovered with coaching in particular that I think is really important is I would never hire a coach that doesn't have a coach or doesn't necessarily. Yeah. Because if you don't have a coach, then how can you tell me I need one?
Right. And as a coach, we're always learning. You have to have a love for learning. And it needs to be something that's very continuous, because in this profession, what they say is you can only take your clients as deep as you've gone yourself. And so investing in yourself by having a coach, by doing all these different programs, the personal development programs, has been really integral to my journey. I was adding it up at the beginning of this year, how much that I've spent since 2007. So between 2007 and 2023, easily, and I'm probably missing some things, $750,000 in
Whew.
my own personal growth and development. So yeah, being very, very intentional about it.
I always think of that as that's to me is healthcare.
Right. It really is. It really is. This is the only profession where we get to do our own personal and professional growth as part of what we give back and what we do and how we help others.
Mhm.
And it really needs to be continuous on that path to mastery. And there is no end to that. You just keep doing the work and finding new things and learning new things so you can bring that to your clients.
I love that. Something that I was thinking about too is you had an amazing experience graveside. And I mean, considering what was going on, of course, but not everybody does get to experience something so profound and in your face or in your ears, depending on how you want to phrase it. Um, so I guess what I'm getting at by saying that is having a coach could actually help you, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe even sort of see things that you don't see.
Yes, absolutely. A coach will really help you uncover your own blind spots. It's like when we go to a dentist, right? We don't do work on our own teeth. That's very much the same. That you go to a coach because they are an unbiased, so that it's not like your friends, and it's not even like a mentor. It's someone
Mhm.
who believes in you unrelentingly, right? That
Mhm.
you are. They see your potential, but they stand back and they evoke from within you your own inner wisdom and allow you to create and design and take these small actions between sessions in order to create and design that potential that you haven't quite yet seen yet. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
There's a saying in the personal training world, and personal trainers, and I love this one. You can hire me, but I can't do your push-ups for you.
That's right. Yeah.
I
Yes.
can help you, I can guide you, but I can't do it for you.
That's right. Yes. So that really what that is speaking to are the results that you get from coaching, that the client is ultimately responsible for their results because
Mhm.
they're the ones who are having these insights in the sessions, and they're the ones that are committing to taking these small actions that then create the change. And I know all the coaches that I've worked with, they help me to really stretch and get out of my comfort zone and stretch out into these edges of discomfort. Um, in the book, The 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth by John Maxwell, he has this really wonderful, he calls it the law of the rubber band. So what he says is the rubber band, and the rubber band is only functional if you stretch it. And so this is the metaphor that here's where we like to be. We like to be nice in our comfort zone, but we're not really using the law of the rubber band. The law of the rubber band is really stretching out to those edges. And um, and like I said earlier, that our life is not a dress rehearsal. So really making sure that we are stepping in and into, and for me, boy, this just aligned with my passions. It aligned with my strengths. It aligned as being a coach, aligned with my purpose my purpose is to bring more love, care, kindness, and humanity into the workplace. And so it totally aligned with that. And then it also aligned with my skills. And my skills have all been learned over this period of time. And so I think it's just so important to have a partner when you're on that journey,
Mhm.
and someone who can really help you and challenge you.
And somebody that you can be open and honest with.
Exactly, where there's a sacred space of
Mhm.
trust, and that you can come to this space, and there's no judgment. Because as a coach, and having coached for all these years, there's not much I haven't heard
Mhm.
in working with my clients, and I'm very committed. If there's any kind of issue that they have that's out of my area of expertise, I make sure that I help them get aligned with whoever might be able to help them. I had a client years ago that was facing a potential divorce, and and she wanted her and her husband to work with me, and that's not my area of expertise.
Mhm.
I did find a really fantastic therapist to work with them, and they're still together today. And
Oh,
so, I always see that whoever I can help bring in when it's not my area of expertise, whether it's a therapist, whether it's, if they have an issue with alcohol or anything that's outside of my scope, I always want to help bring in those experts as well.
it turns into a team.
And yeah, whatever is called for is
Yeah.
really important. Yeah.
And I like that too, because I know a lot of people try and get everything from one person.
Right. Right. Yeah. And the key there is partnership, to be sure that if one of my clients, in fact, one of my clients is working with a therapist, and I've been working with her for a long time as well, and to make sure that there's alignment with that therapist, that my
Mhm.
client isn't getting conflicting messages. And so every so often, it's really important to check in, and vice versa, have them check in with me as well.
I like that. And that's how it is for, not that I do a lot of personal training anymore, but that's how it is. If there's chiropractors involved and doctors, and somebody's telling you to do one thing and then I'm telling you,
Right.
it's not helpful.
No, no. Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
And you don't wanna it's just like you don't wanna have 2 coaches at the same time. You wanna be sure that everyone's kind of in their area of expertise, and helping the person move in the direction that they want to move in.
I think that's a very good distinction to have as well, because I know one of my one of my things that I'm aware of about myself is, I can go to certain people to get what it is that my ego wants. So if I have more than one coach, if one says something I don't like, then I could go to another one. And it's just a way of avoiding the
Right.
work.
Yes.
But
Yes.
yeah, that's one of the reasons why I don't have more than one coach at a time. But yeah, no, I appreciate you saying that, because a lot of people get on the idea, well, I need all these different things. Well, we don't need to make it too confusing for you.
Right, right. Exactly, exactly.
I
Yeah.
love that. On that note, it is time for us to go to a commercial. So we're going to be back in just a moment. For those of you who are watching us live, thank you so much for being here. As I mentioned, it is time for us to go to commercial. When we come back, we are going to be talking about how to be a good client. And in fact, Karen is an author of a book that we're going to be talking about. So we'll be back in just a moment. Welcome back, everyone. If you're just joining us now, I'm Julianne Meyer. You are watching Own Your Wellness, and today's special guest is Karen Davis. Let's bring her back. Welcome back to this show, Karen. So before the commercial break, I had briefly mentioned your fabulous book, How to Get the Most, How to Get the Most Out of Coaching. This is a very helpful, good book, not only for people who want to get the most out of their coaching, but I think it's really good for coaches too.
Yes, yes, absolutely, it is.
So, what brought about this idea?
So this idea was the creation, and maybe the book was the co-creation, but the idea, the spark of the idea was my life partner, Alex Mill. And Alex spent 13 and a half years in a Zen Buddhist monastery. And we met in a coach training course in 2014 and hit it off as friends. And then in 2015, it evolved into just a beautiful, beautiful, magnificent relationship. And we've been together ever since. But one morning, because we have so much in common, we were walking and we were, of course, talking about coaching. And I'll never forget, Alex said to me, he said, I wish that I had something like an ebook that I could send to my clients where they would have a really deep understanding of the role that they play and how they could get the most out of the coaching experience. And it was one of those things, Julianne, where maybe he had said that to me before, but I suddenly heard it and I stopped in my tracks and I said, there's nothing out there like that. I know because I've looked for it. That is genius. You should write that book. And he's like, no, you should write the book. And because he'd written 6 books, I had co-authored books as well. And we know how much work goes into it. So we were kind of doing one of these, like, and pretty soon, the idea kept swirling around for me. And one day I said, let's go to the coffee shop. Now, this is pre-COVID. And I said, let's go to the coffee shop. Let's just outline it. And let's just see what might show up in the book. And we did. We just sat side by side and we started kind of framing up what the book could be like. And we got really excited about it. We were part of a group of coaches, about 40 coaches. And so in February, right before COVID, we were all together. And I had mentioned it to my coach now, Steve Chandler. He was running the group of coaches. I said, hey, can we get up in front of the room and bounce this idea off these coaches as to what we're thinking of and what they think of the idea? And he was like, absolutely. I'll give you 30 minutes at the end and go ahead and go up and share. And so we did. And they were like wanting to give us a standing ovation. They were like, there's nothing else out there like that. That's brilliant. That's a brilliant idea. And so we then set out, COVID hit in March of that year, perfect timing to sit back, since you can't be social, you just have to, be in each other's company and put this book together. And so we spent all of 2020 and most of 2021 putting the book together. And I became the lead in making sure that it got done, it happened, and it was something that we could be really, really proud of. And, I'm proud to say that it is the most comprehensive instructional book that has so far ever been devised for someone who is interested in understanding how to get the most out of their coaching experience. And so with that, Julianne, I would make a bold statement that no one should ever walk into a coaching session without having read this book first. That there are so many, it's packed full of ideas and it's very instructional. And if they read this book, they are going to be really astounded with the results so they get from the coaching experience.
I love that. And so people can go to your wait, that's not the website. That's your email. Sorry. Go to your website and there's a link on there to purchase the book, correct?
Yes. If they just go to the books on my website, they'll be able to download a free chapter as well as some other free downloads that we have there. And then it'll give them all the different places where they can acquire our book worldwide.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
So something that I would like to interject about this particular book, and having read it, is it really, the thing that I love the most about it is it puts the power into the person being coached to really own their experience. Because I know a lot of people assume, let's say you spend, say, $20,000 on coaching, which isn't necessarily outrageous. It's almost like they think that's the hard part or the work.
Right. No, that's just the beginning.
Or just sessions and that's it. And like all the magic happens during the sessions, but that's not the case.
No, it really, it's not. And coaches are actually buying this book in bulk so they can send it to their potential, not even their clients, but their potential clients ahead of time so that they will understand what their role is in the process. Because like you said, the money part of the equation is just the beginning of the investment. There's also a lot of commitment such as putting yourself as number one. And that means putting coaching as number one, which would be above family and career and everything. And if you do that, if you can see that connection of putting yourself and putting the coaching as number one in your life priority, then you start to schedule everything else in your world around it. And you become very committed. It's one thing to have an intention of creating something different. And then you need to have those commitments that support that intention. So what are the things that I'm 100% absolutely committed to doing in order to create that intention that I have? Whether it's a career transition, whether it's redeveloping a relationship with a loved one, whether it's spiritual, whether it's health, finances, whatever it is that you're working on, having this book, reading it first will really, really help that journey.
Yes, I love that. And for the people that are watching, oops, that's okay. Live. Alex Mill, her partner, is actually the first coach that I ever paid to coach me. And one of the things, and now I can see it in the book, that he had created for me to look at was the agreements about how we were going to show up. And I was so impressed. One of the things that really impressed me was his commitment outside of the coaching sessions to himself in order to show up for me in the best, most powerful way. And I just thought, wow, I've never seen that since. So
yes.
Yeah,
exactly.
And I love that. I mean, that is such a powerful way to know that somebody else is just as invested as you are in your success and in your, your path, your journey. So I think that was pretty amazing.
That's right. Yeah. It's really is having really powerful agreements with your clients in terms of who you're going to be, how you're going to show up. And we talk about this in the book from the client's perspective. What kind of agreements do you want to create with your coach? And what's really, really important to you? And hopefully the coach is co-creating agreements with you as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I just love this idea too, because even if the client is reading the book and the coach has never read the book, then they can help teach the coach what's in the book.
That's right. Yeah, they can pass it along to the coach for sure.
Yeah, I love that. I also put up your email address so that people can reach out to you via email. What does it look like to coach with you? I mean, I know that you are an executive coach, but what does that mean for people who are watching?
Yeah, so I work with 3 different audiences. The first, I work with CEOs of small entrepreneurial businesses that might be anywhere from 6 million to half a million. I work with large organizations that are typically multi-billion, and I work with the typically VP, SVP, so the top level leaders within the organization. And then I work with a small handful of coaches that are executive business coaches who work with entrepreneurs and executives as well. And I typically will work anywhere from 8 months to a year. Many of my clients will sign on year over year. They keep creating and they keep increasing their potential. And so I've had many, many clients I've worked with for several years. And but I kind of feel like that minimum time is around 8 months. And then I also offer accelerators. And what those are 2 days here with me. I have a beautiful coaching studio in my home and a separate where walk around and everything. And so I have clients that fly in from all over the world to work with me for just a couple of days. And then oftentimes, if it's just the accelerator, I have 3 sessions pre and 2 sessions post to the 2 days that they work with me. So that's kind of the smallest offering that I have, up to the 8 months, up to the year-long program. And then, anything that I'm very open to custom creating with a client, really a bespoke type of program for them.
I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. Well, on that note, it is time for us to go for one more commercial break. So we're going to be back in just a minute. For those of you, once again, watching us live, thank you so much. And everybody watching on demand, of course, we love you as well. But as I mentioned, it is time for those commercials. So we're going to be back in just a moment.
Welcome to E360 TV, the live streaming and on-demand destination for influential voices and enlightened audiences. We offer trending, grassroots, and purpose-driven content across a diverse range of interests. E360 TV is more than just watching programs. We offer the ability to interact with live shows connecting audiences to real, authentic influencers and storytellers while streaming to millions of devices. Real experiences. Raw conversation. One destination for it all. E360 TV.
Welcome back, everyone. Let's bring our guest back, Miss Karen Davis. Welcome back. Oh, we have a blank screen. Are you there?
I'm here.
Oh, how odd. I can't see you.
Let me look.
These things happen from time to time.
Huh. Okay. How about if I stop the cam and start? Would that?
There we go. Let's try that. That might work. Well, we can still continue our conversation. They'll just see my face.
Okay. Sorry. I don't know what happened.
Me either. I will say this, and this might sound a little funny to anybody who doesn't get this, but when you have two really intuitive people that are on this show together, things like this happen every time.
It's our energy.
It is so funny how it works. I'm not sure what that's about, but that's okay. Anyway, so we were talking about, basically taking ownership of, coaching for yourself and really what it takes instead of just like showing up and expecting it to be done for you and to you.
That's right. That's right.
But also that's kind of how it is for your hidden potential as well. Right? I mean, you kind of have to start digging around. Something you said that I thought was kind of interesting was that there was something missing. You felt like there was something missing.
Yes. Yes.
And do you find that a lot of people experience this? Do you run across this a lot, or?
So when I share my story with my clients about feeling like this pull, that I was actually just being pulled, there was nothing I could do. I just felt like I was being pulled onto this path. And that the more I resisted it, the more things happened to pull me onto the path. And when I share that with my clients and we talk about that, they often will say, you know what? I think I'm going through the same thing. I think I'm experiencing exactly what you experienced. And so when you're highly attuned to the forces at play, then that is a possibility of being your experience. So if there's anyone out there that is feeling that, it's completely normal, and don't try to resist it. In fact, embrace it and really look to see, what is next for me? How else can I stretch myself? People can never outperform their own self-image. And so really every aspect of ourselves and who we are is impacted by the way that we see ourselves. And so when we start doing that work and really start to look at, where am I judging myself? We've got this running conversation that goes on inside of our minds. And is it being a benefit to us, or is it impacting us negatively? And if it is negatively, then let's not believe that running conversation. And so I always encourage people, let's take a look there. Let's take a look at what judgments are you hearing in that running conversation? And let's do some inside out work as opposed to the outside in work, because what we think that we're stressed out about, what we think that is upsetting us, we always look to the outside, and it's never the outside. It's always being shaped by our thoughts. And it's an inside out job, in other words.
Yeah. Was it George Carlin said something to the effect of, looking for happiness outside of yourself is like slapping sandwiches on your body when you're hungry.
Yes. I hadn't heard that one, but I have met George Carlin in an elevator in Las Vegas. He's very funny.
That's very awesome. Good. Yeah, I just thought that was so insightful.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. We're trying to fix the outside, but no. That's a lot of work to keep on arranging all the pieces outside of ourselves.
Right. Yeah. Well, and if we think about it, it's our thoughts create our perceptions of reality. Our thoughts create our language. It creates our emotions, our moods. and then the way that we perceive the world, and thus the actions that we take or don't take. And so by really looking at some of those judgments that we have, the self-judgments, and forgiving ourselves for those judgments, and then speaking what the truth is. So, it goes something like, I forgive myself for judging myself as for the truth is, and really beginning to rewire our brains that oftentimes were, how do I want to say this, not developed as well during our childhoods as possible. And, that we might have picked up some negative ideas about ourselves from childhood through to our teenagers. Those very difficult sometimes for people, those very difficult years.
Yes, no kidding. I think we all have a story of some sort. But yeah, no, I like this idea too, that you talked about it in your book too. I can't remember exactly the wording you used about the gremlins.
Yes.
Yeah, the
that's
voices.
Brene Brown. Yes, she talks about the
I like that too, because, it comes down to, we don't necessarily, if you're just starting out on this journey or in this adventure, it's, you might not even realize how much you're talking to yourself or like how many these little voices are going on. It's like, well, that voice that just told you there's nothing there.
Yeah, it's so true. So true. Yeah. And so, as we become a better observer of the conversations that are going on inside of our minds, the more awareness, the self-awareness that we have, and the more self-awareness that we have, the more that we're able to begin to take those actions very intentionally.
Exactly. Yeah, my fiance, he says this, and I love this story. I'll be all worked up about something and maybe complaining, and he'll say, "That's a very interesting story you're telling yourself."
Right. Exactly.
Oh yeah, darn it, you're right.
Exactly.
I made up this whole thing in my head. I don't know if any of that's true.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. And it's typically that we're looking outside. Someone might have said something, and, that whatever they said might have been their own projection, and we interpreted it and brought it in. And then all of a sudden we're in this upset. Well, we're in the upset because of how we were thinking about it. That other person had nothing to do with it.
Nope. I always think about too, where, when people don't believe me, I think about, well, when you're in love and it's brand new and you've got all these endorphins and hormones, things going wild, somebody cuts you off in traffic, you could care less.
That's right. That's right.
Who cares? Yeah. So it really isn't anybody outside of us. And that can be very empowering. And also, I don't know, for me, it's kind of like, oh man, I have to take responsibility.
Yes. Yeah. And that's, one of my coaches I worked with for years, he would always say to me, he said, "Karen, what is your responsibility in creating that situation?" And I would just be like, oh my, anything that I was upset about, right? Anything. Yeah. And pretty much if I just slowed down and began to reflect, I could deconstruct it and see my role in it and what I had created, whether I didn't have a powerful agreement with that person or whatever it was all created over here in my world, not in their world.
Yes, exactly. I love that. So, in this book that you wrote, it talks about all the different, for those of you who are watching, there's just so, like you said, it's packed full of information and ideas. But the one thing that, I'd really like to touch on is maybe picking a coach, because you talked about a few different things, that you need to make agreements with the coach and all these things. But if you're just starting out, what are some things that maybe, and you're brand new, this is going to be your first coach ever, and you really want to invest in yourself at this point in your life. What are some things that maybe people should be looking for when they're choosing their coach?
So I think one of the most important things that you can do when you're selecting a coach is be sure that they will give you an experience of what is it like to work with them. And so actually have them coach you so that you can see, does this feel like a good chemistry fit for me? Does this feel like this person really gets me and they believe in me? Do I want to spend time with this person? What is their background? How much have they invested in themselves and their mastery? Does this person make a good thinking partner in case I want a little bit beyond coaching, that I might want a little bit of consulting from time to time? You know, who is this person for me? And can I feel their heart? Do they use their intuition when they're coaching? Or does it feel more mechanical? Does it feel like it's being sourced through them, the questions to you, or does it feel more mechanical? So those are just some of the things that's when I'm looking for a coach, those are the things that I look for. My coach that I've worked with for many years, Steve Chandler, I was telling a couple of my coach colleagues earlier today that he really speaks to my soul. There's just this rhythm that we have that's just, I feel very at ease and comfortable. I can share anything with him. He's so wise and he really gets me and sees my blind spots that I can't see myself, and is not afraid to share those with me.
That's actually a really good point.
Right.
You don't want a people pleaser.
No. You want someone, with permission, who is willing to turn the burner up on high for you from time to time. And if you're not feeling well, to turn the burner down to low as well. So.
I love that. I like somebody who's versatile, can hear you and match you where you are, but also stretch the rubber band with you.
Yes, exactly.
I think too, because I haven't read all of Steve Chandler's books, but I've read about 90% of them. And
37 books he has, yeah.
He has so many. You should see my library. There's a whole shelf of his books. But something that he had said in a few different ones, and so this is for the audience, that he's written for coaches, is that when you are looking for clients it doesn't turn into selling coaching, but that you are just giving them an experience so that they want to continue to work with you. And I think that is such a beautiful thing, because even if somebody doesn't end up working with you, for example, it was a good, wonderful experience for connection, and nothing was lost by that. I think a lot of coaches, exactly. I think a lot of coaches are like, I need the money. And
having a servant's heart, that when you go into an experience with another human being, that you want to serve them deeply. And you want to create impact for them in that session, where they walk away, they're seeing the world differently, and they're going to take some actions that are different than they would have taken otherwise. And so that's why it's so important to have that experience with a coach. And if they're truly being of service, they will figure out a way to provide you with that. And it's just as much for them as well, because a coach, like a coach at my level, I want to be sure that I can deeply serve this person. I can fall in love with this person, and I can help and be on the path with them and journey and create this massive impact for them. That's what lights me up each day. It's the money follows. It's just a matter of being out there and being of service to people.
I love that. Well, we are almost out of time. So we got about 2 minutes left. I'm just curious if you'd like to share any parting thoughts with the audience, or maybe even reiterate something that you've said before.
I think the most important thing, since we're talking about uncovering your hidden potential, is that if you want to change your life, then you must change your actions that you're taking. And that you can have every intention of the world of creating something, and yet unless you're highly committed, 100% committed to what needs to happen, those actions that need to happen in order to create what you've intended, that it probably won't happen. So it's really being intentional about what you're creating for yourself in your life.
I love that so much. I think that's so beautiful. I did want to pop your website up one more time for those of you who missed it before. You can pick up the book, How to Get the Most Out of Coaching, written by her and Alex Mill. And then also, you said that there was a free chapter available and other fun stuff. And then also to be able to reach out to you directly. I'm sure they can through the website as well. But for those of you who want it right now, there's Karen's email address as well. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for being on the show today. I truly appreciate you. As I mentioned multiple times, I've been looking forward to this conversation for quite some time. And I'm very glad that you were able to join us today.
Thank you. Thanks, Julianne. This has been really fun. And I really appreciate it. Appreciate Erin Bennis. I'll put a shout out to Erin Bennis for introducing us to one another.
Yes, exactly. Amazing, right? And everyone who's watching, thank you so much for being here. We will be back next week. Until then, enjoy your weekend. Enjoy living. We'll see you soon.